The rain-soaked streets of Willow Creek, Oregon, glistened under the dim street lights. But Jamie Carter's heart was heavier than the storm clouds above. He stood outside the old diner, its neon sign flickering like a dying heartbeat, watching the world move on without him. His family's rejection still burned. "You're not welcome at the wedding. Jamie, you've made your choice." He was 28, a painter with dreams bigger than this small town could hold. But his family saw only one thing. He was gay. The words his mother spat over the phone 2 weeks ago echoed in his mind, sharp as broken glass. "You're an embarrassment. Don't show up." It wasn't just any wedding, it was his brother Ethan's. The golden child. The one who always did everything right. Jamie had spent his life in Ethan's shadow. But this cut deeper. He wasn't just uninvited. He was erased. The diner door creaked open, and out stepped Lucas Hayes, the groom himself. At 30, Lucas was everything Willow Creek admired: charming, dependable. The high school football star turned local contractor. His tuxedo was wrinkled, his tie undone, and his blue eyes were red from crying. Jamie froze. Lucas wasn't supposed to be here. The wedding was happening now, across town at Street Mary's church, where Ethan was marrying Sarah, Lucas's fiancée. So why was Lucas standing in the rain, looking at Jamie like the world was falling apart? "Jamie," Lucas choked out, his voice raw. "I couldn't do it. I couldn't go through with it." Jamie's breath caught. He'd known Lucas since they were kids, sneaking beers by the creek, sharing secrets under the stars. Lucas had always been the one who understood him, the one who didn't flinch when Jamie came out at 17. But Lucas was straighter, so everyone thought. The town adored him, and Sarah was the perfect bride. Yet here he was, trembling, his hands reaching for Jamie's. "What are you talking about?" Jamie asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The rain plastered his brown hair to his forehead, and he shoved his hands into his denim jacket, afraid to hope. Lucas stepped closer, his shoes splashing in a puddle. "I've been lying to everyone. To Sarah. To myself. I can't marry her. Jamie. Not when he stopped, his chest heaving. "Not when I'm in love with you." The words hit Jamie like a freight train. His knees buckled, and he grabbed the diner's awning for support. Lucas. In love with him. It was impossible. They'd been friends forever. But Jamie had buried his feelings for Lucas years ago, convinced they'd never be returned. He'd watched Lucas date Sarah, watched him play the role of the perfect son-in-law, all while Jamie painted his pain into canvases no one in Willow Creek would ever understand. "You don't mean that," Jamie said, his voice cracking. "You're just scared. Cold feet." "You're not." "I am," Lucas interrupted, his eyes fierce. "I've known it for years. Jamie. I was too weak to admit it. I thought if I followed their rules, me parents, this town, I could forget you. But I can't." He pulled a crumpled wedding invitation from his pocket, the gold lettering smudged. "I was standing at the altar, and all I could think about was you. How I'd rather lose everything than lose you." Jamie's heart pounded. He wanted to believe it, but the weight of his family's rejection held him back. "Lucas, your life is perfect. You've got Sarah, your business, your family. You don't throw that away for me. I'm the town outcast. Remember?" Lucas shook his head, stepping so close Jamie could feel the heat of his breath. "You're not an outcast to me. You're everything." He reached out, his fingers brushing Jamie's cheek. And for a moment, the world stopped. The rain, the diner, the pine, it all faded. There was only Lucas, his touch electric, his eyes pleading. But then headlights cut through the storm, and a car screeched to a stop. Ethan's voice boomed from the driver's seat. "Lucas, What the hell are you doing? You're ruining everything. Jamie's stomach dropped. Ethan, his older brother, the one who'd always protected him until he didn't. The one who'd sided with their parents when they banned Jamie from the wedding. Ethan climbed out, his face a mask of fury, his suit pristine despite the rain. Get away from him. Ethan snapped, glaring at Jamie. You're not dragging Lucas down with you. Lucas turned, shielding Jamie from Ethan's wrath. This isn't about him, Ethan. It's about me. I'm done pretending. Ethan's jaw tightened. You're throwing away your future for him. You're not even, he stopped. But the unspoken word hung in the air, gay. Ethan's eyes darted to Jamie, filled with something worse than anger, disgust. You're making a mistake. Lucas. And you. He pointed at Jamie. You're not welcome here. You never were. The words stung. But Jamie stood taller. He'd heard them before. From his parents. From this town. But Lucas's hand found his, fingers intertwining. And for the first time, Jamie didn't feel alone. I'm not leaving him, Lucas said, his voice steady despite the tears. Not now. Not ever. Ethan stared, speechless, then slammed back into his car and sped off, tires screeching. The rain kept falling, but Jamie barely noticed. Lucas was still holding his hand, and the world felt different, dangerous, uncertain, but alive with possibility. We can't stay here, Lucas said, his voice urgent. They'll come for me. Sarah's family. My parents, they won't let this go. Jamie nodded, his mind racing. He'd spent years dreaming of escaping Willow Creek, but never like this. Where do we go? He asked. Lucas's eyes softened, a spark of hope breaking through the pain. Anywhere. As long as it's with you. They ran to Lucas's truck, the rain soaking them to the bone. As they drove out of Willow Creek, the town's lights fading in the rearview mirror, Jamie felt a weight lift. For the first time in years, he wasn't running alone. But the road ahead wouldn't be easy. Ethan's anger was just the beginning. Sarah's family, the town, their own demons, they'd all come calling. Jamie glanced at Lucas, his profile strong against the dashboard's glow, and made a silent vow, whatever came next, they'd face it together. The truck's engine rumbled as they sped down the highway, the rain a relentless drumbeat on the windshield. Jamie stared out the window, the blur of passing trees a mirror to his racing thoughts. Lucas's confession still echoed in his mind, each word a spark threatening to ignite everything he'd buried for years. He stole a glance at Lucas, whose knuckles were white on the steering wheel, his jaw set with determination. The man who'd just thrown away a perfect life for him for them. Jamie's chest tightened with a mix of awe and fear. Where are we going? Jamie finally asked, his voice barely audible over the storm. Lucas didn't take his eyes off the road. I don't know yet. Somewhere they can't find us. Portland. Maybe. Or Seattle. Somewhere we can breathe. Jamie nodded, though the idea of breathing freely felt foreign. Willow Creek had suffocated him for years, its small-town judgment a noose around his neck. He'd stayed for his art, for the faint hope that his family might one day accept him. But now, with Lucas beside him, the world felt both bigger and more terrifying. What about Sarah? Jamie asked, the question heavy with guilt. She's waiting for you. She doesn't deserve this. Lucas's shoulders tensed, and for a moment, he didn't answer. When he did, his voice was low, laced with regret. I know. I tried to love her. Jamie. I thought I could be what she needed, what everyone expected. But every time I looked at her, I saw you. He glanced at Jamie, his eyes raw. I'm not proud of running out on her, but I couldn't lie anymore. Jamie's heart ached for Sarah, But the selfish part of him, the part that had loved Lucas in silence for years, felt a flicker of hope. He reached out, his hand resting on Lucas's arm. "We'll figure this out," he said, though he wasn't sure he believed it. The highway stretched on, endless and dark, until Lucas pulled into a gas station just outside Eugene. The neon lights cast harsh shadows on his face as he turned off the engine. "We need to talk about what's next," he said. "This isn't just about us running. It's about what we're running toward." Jamie leaned back, the weight of the moment pressing down. "I've got nothing to lose. Lucas, my family already disowned me. My paintings barely sell. But you've got a business. A life. Are you sure about this?" Lucas turned to him, his expression fierce. "I've never been more sure of anything. I spent years building a life I didn't want. Jamie, I'm done with that. I want you. I want us." The words sent a shiver through Jamie. But before he could respond, his phone buzzed. A text from Ethan. "You're dead to us. Don't come back." Jamie's throat tightened, and he turned the phone face down. Lucas noticed, his eyes narrowing. "What is it?" "Nothing," Jamie lied, but his voice betrayed him. Lucas grabbed the phone, read the message, and cursed under his breath. "They don't get to do this to you," Lucas said, his voice shaking with anger. "They don't get to decide who you are or what we have." Jamie forced a smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. "They've been deciding that my whole life." Lucas reached for his hand, his grip firm. "Not anymore. We're writing our own story now." They sat in silence for a moment, the gas station's hum filling the void. Then Lucas's phone rang, shattering the quiet. He glanced at the screen, Sarah's name. His face paled, and he hesitated before answering. "Sarah, I'm sorry," he said, his voice steady but strained. "I can't do this. I'll explain everything. I promise. But not now." Jamie couldn't hear Sarah's response, but the pain in Lucas's eyes told him enough. When the call ended, Lucas stared at the phone, his hands trembling. "She's devastated," he whispered. "Her family's furious. They're already blaming you." "Me?" Jamie's stomach twisted. "They don't even know me." "They know you're gay," Lucas said bitterly. "That's enough for them. They're saying you seduced me, that you ruined the wedding." Jamie laughed, a hollow sound. "Seduced you? I've been in love with you since we were 16. Lucas, I never said a word because I knew it'd ruin you." Lucas's eyes widened, and he leaned closer, his voice soft but urgent. "You should have said something. All those years. I was too scared to admit I felt the same. I thought I could bury it. But I can't. Not anymore." The confession hung between them, fragile and electric. Jamie wanted to kiss him, to erase the pain of the past. But the weight of Sarah's heartbreak and Ethan's hatred held him back. Instead, he squeezed Lucas's hand. "We'll get through this," he said, echoing Lucas's earlier words. Lucas nodded, starting the truck again. "We need to keep moving. Sarah's family has connections. They'll come looking." As they pulled back onto the highway, Jamie felt the first stirrings of something new, not just fear, but possibility. For years, he'd painted his dreams in secret, hiding his truth from a town that despised it. Now, with Lucas beside him, those dreams felt within reach. But the road ahead was fraught with danger. Sarah's family, Lucas's parents, the weight of a town that would never forgive them. By dawn, they reached Portland, the city's skyline a jagged promise against the gray sky. Lucas found a cheap motel, and they checked in under false names, the clerk barely glancing at them. In the dim room, with its peeling wallpaper and creaky bed, Jamie finally let himself look at Lucas, really look at him. the man who'd given up everything for him. What do we do now? Jamie asked, sitting on the edge of the bed. Lucas knelt in front of him, taking both his hands. We start over. Together. Jamie's heart raced, but the fear lingered. Starting over sounded beautiful, but Willow Creek's shadow was long, and it wasn't done with them yet. The motel room smelled of stale coffee and regret. But to Jamie, it was a sanctuary. For the first time in years, he wasn't alone. Lucas sat across from him on the sagging mattress, his tuxedo jacket discarded, his shirt unbuttoned at the collar. The weight of his decision to leave Sarah, to choose Jamie, hung heavy in the air. But his eyes held no doubt. We can't stay here long, Lucas said, running a hand through his blonde hair. Sarah's dad, Tom. He's got friends in law enforcement. They'll track my truck. Jamie's stomach churned. Tom Bradley was a powerful man in Willow Creek, a real estate developer with a temper and a grudge. What does he want? To drag you back to Sarah? Lucas shook his head. He wants to punish us. Both of us. He called me a traitor. Said I humiliated his daughter. But Yoha hates you most. He thinks you're the reason I left. Jamie's jaw tightened. He'd spent his life being the scapegoat for Willow Creek's narrow minds. But this was different. This was personal. I didn't ask for this. Lucas, I didn't ask you to run. I know, Lucas said, his voice soft. He reached for Jamie's hand, his thumb tracing circles on his palm. But I couldn't stay. Not after realizing I've loved you all along. The words sent a jolt through Jamie, but they also stirred fear. Love was dangerous in a world that hated them for it. He pulled his hand away, standing to pace the small room. You don't get it, Lucas. This isn't just about us. It's about your family. My family. This whole damn town. They'll never let us be. Lucas stood too, closing the distance between them. Then we don't go back. We build something new. Somewhere they can't touch us. Jamie wanted to believe him, but the past clung like damp clothes. He thought of his mother's cold voice, his father's silence, Ethan's betrayal. He thought of the paintings he'd left behind in his tiny apartment, each one a piece of his soul. I don't know how to start over, he admitted. I've been running from myself my whole life. Lucas cupped Jamie's face, his touch gentle but firm. You don't have to run anymore. I'm here. The sincerity in Lucas's eyes broke something in Jamie. He leaned in, their lips meeting in a kiss that was both tentative and desperate, like they were stealing a moment the world would never allow. It was their first kiss, and it tasted of rain and freedom. But the moment shattered when Lucas's phone buzzed again. He pulled back, his face grim as he read the message. It's my mom, he said. She's begging me to come home. Says Dad's having chest pains. They think it's my fault. Jamie's heart sank. Lucas's parents, Mark and Linda, were pillars of Willow Creek churchgoing. Traditional, unforgiving. They'd tolerated Jamie as Lucas's friend, but only because they didn't know the truth. Is it serious? Jamie asked. I don't know, Lucas admitted. It could be a trick to get me back. But if it's real, he trailed off, guilt etching lines into his face. Jamie wanted to tell him to ignore it, to keep running, but he couldn't. You should call her, he said, just to be sure. Lucas nodded, stepping outside to make the call. Jamie watched through the window, his heart pounding. He knew what family could do, how they could pull you back, make you question everything. When Lucas returned, his face was ashen. Dad's in the hospital. Stress-induced angina. Mom says it's because of me. Jamie's throat tightened. You don't have to go back, he said, but the words felt hollow. He knew Lucas's loyalty to his family, The weight of being the good son. I don't want to, Lucas said, his voice breaking. But I need to see him. Just once. To explain. Jamie nodded, though every instinct screamed against it. Then we go together. I'm not letting you face them alone. They drove back toward Willow Creek that night, the road a blur of headlights and doubt. Jamie's mind raced with worst-case scenarios: Tom Bradley's threats, Ethan's anger, the town's judgment. But Lucas's hand on his knee grounded him, a silent promise they'd face it together. When they reached the hospital, the sterile halls felt like a trap. Lucas's mother was waiting in the lobby, her face a mask of grief and fury. You did this, she hissed at Lucas, then turned her glare on Jamie. And you're poison. Jamie flinched, but stood his ground. I'm here for Lucas, he said quietly. That's all. Lucas stepped between them. Mom, stop. This isn't Jamie's fault. It's mine. I love him, and I'm not ashamed of it. Linda's eyes widened, and for a moment, Jamie thought she'd collapse. You're confused, she whispered. You need help. I need you to listen, Lucas said, his voice steady. I've spent my life trying to be who you wanted. I can't do it anymore. Before Linda could respond, a doctor approached. Mr. Hayes, your father's stable, but he's asking for you. Lucas glanced at Jamie, his eyes pleading. Come with me, he said. Jamie hesitated. He wasn't family. Not here. But Lucas's grip on his hand was unrelenting. And together, they walked into the hospital room, ready to face whatever came next. The hospital room was stark, the beep of monitors a harsh reminder of reality. Mark Hayes lay in the bed, his face pale, but his eyes sharp with disapproval. Lucas stood at the foot of the bed, Jamie at his side, their hands still clasped. Mark's gaze flicked to their joined hands, and his lips tightened into a thin line. Dad, Lucas began, his voice steady despite the tension. I'm sorry you're here, but I need you to know why I left the wedding. Mark's eyes narrowed. You humiliated that girl. You humiliated us all. And for what? His gaze shifted to Jamie, venom in his stare. For him. Jamie's chest tightened, but he didn't look away. He'd faced this kind of hatred before, but it hurt more coming from Lucas's father, a man he'd once respected. Yes, Lucas said, his voice unwavering. For him. Because I love him. Dad. I've loved him for years, and I can't keep pretending I don't. Mark's face reddened, and the monitors beeped faster. You're throwing your life away. He spat. You had everything, Sarah. A future. Respect. And you choose this sin. It's not a sin, Lucas said, his voice rising. It's who I am. And Jamie's the best thing in my life. Jamie's heart swelled, but fear gnawed at him. He could see the strain in Mark's face, the way his hands gripped the bedsheet. Lucas, Jamie whispered, maybe we should go? No, Lucas said, turning to him. He needs to hear this. They all do. He faced his father again. I'm not asking for your approval. I'm telling you I'm done living a lie. I love Jamie, and I'm going to build a life with him. Mark's breathing grew ragged, and a nurse rushed in, checking the monitors. You need to leave, she said firmly. He can't handle this right now. Lucas hesitated, his eyes locked on his father's. I'm sorry you're hurting, he said quietly, but I'm not sorry for who I am. They left the room, Linda's sobs echoing behind them. In the hallway, Jamie pulled Lucas into a corner, his hands shaking. You didn't have to do that, he said. Not for me. It's not just for you, Lucas said, his eyes fierce. It's for me. For us. But the moment of defiance was short-lived. As they stepped into the hospital parking lot, a familiar figure emerged from the shadows. Tom Bradley, Sarah's father. His face was a mask of rage, and two men flanked him, their postures menacing. "Lucas," Tom growled. "You've got some nerve showing your face here." Lucas stepped in front of Jamie, his body tense. "Tom, I'm sorry about Sarah. I'll talk to her. Explain everything." "You don't get to talk to her," Tom snapped. "You've done enough damage. And you," he pointed at Jamie, "you're the one who started this. You think you can ruin my daughter's life and walk away." "I didn't ruin anything," Jamie said, his voice steady despite the fear. "Lucas made his choice." Tom's eyes darkened. "You're going to regret that choice. Both of you." The two men stepped closer, and Jamie's heart raced. He'd seen this kind of anger before, small-town men who thought they could fix people like him with fists or worse. But Lucas didn't back down. "You touch him, you deal with me," he said, his voice low and dangerous. For a moment, no one moved. Then Tom sneered. "This isn't over." He turned and walked away, his men following. But the threat lingered in the air. Lucas grabbed Jamie's arm, pulling him toward the truck. "We need to get out of here. Now." They drove in silence, the weight of the confrontation heavy between them. Jamie's mind raced. Tom's threat, Mark's rejection, the town closing in like a vice. But Lucas's hand found his again, and the warmth of his touch was a lifeline. "Where to now?" Jamie asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Somewhere safe," Lucas said. "I've got a friend in Seattle. Alex. He's like us. He'll help." Jamie nodded, though the word safe felt like a fantasy. As they left Willow Creek behind again, he couldn't shake the feeling that the town's anger would follow them, no matter how far they ran. In Seattle, Alex greeted them at his small apartment, his warm smile a stark contrast to the hostility they'd left behind. He was 35, with a quick laugh and a rainbow flag pinned to his wall. "You two look like you've been through hell," he said, handing them coffee. "You have no idea," Lucas muttered, sinking onto the couch. Alex listened as they told their story, his expression shifting from sympathy to resolve. "You're not the first to run from a place like that," he said, "but you're stronger than you know. You've got each other." For the first time in days, Jamie felt a flicker of hope. Alex's apartment was small, but it was a Havana place where they could be themselves without fear. That night, as they lay together on a borrowed mattress, Lucas whispered, "We're gonna make it, Jamie. I promise." Jamie wanted to believe him, but the shadows of Willow Creek loomed large. Tom's threat wasn't empty, and Ethan's silence was a wound that wouldn't heal. As he drifted to sleep, Lucas's arms around him, Jamie knew the fight was far from over. Seattle's rain was different from Willow Creek, softer, less angry, but no less relentless. Jamie stood by the window of Alex's apartment, watching the city pulse below. It was their third day in Seattle, and the world felt both vast and suffocating. Lucas was in the kitchen with Alex, their voices low as they discussed next steps. Jamie's paintings, left behind in Willow Creek, haunted him, each one a piece of his soul, abandoned like he'd been. Lucas joined him at the window, his presence a quiet comfort. "You okay?" he asked, his hand resting on Jamie's shoulder. Jamie forced a smile. "Just thinking about everything we left behind. My art, my life, such as it was. We'll get it back," Lucas said, "or we'll make something new. You're too talented to stop painting." Jamie's heart warmed, but doubt lingered. What if they find us? "Tom, your family. Authentically not going to let this go. Lucas's jaw tightened. Let them try? I'm not losing you. Their conversation was cut short by a knock at the door. Alex opened it, revealing a woman in her late 20s with tear-streaked cheeks, Sarah. Jamie's heart stopped. She looked broken, her blonde hair tangled, her eyes hollow. Lucas, she said, her voice trembling. I need to talk to you. Lucas froze, then nodded. Okay. Let's go to the coffee shop downstairs. Jamie started to follow, but Sarah's gaze stopped him. Alone, she said, her voice firm but not cruel. Lucas looked at Jamie, his eyes apologetic. I'll be back soon, he promised. Jamie watched them leave, his stomach twisting. Alex sat beside him, offering a reassuring smile. She's hurting, he said, but she's not your enemy. Give her time. Time was the one thing Jamie didn't have. Every moment felt borrowed. Every glance over his shoulder a reminder of the danger they'd fled. He paced the apartment, his mind racing with images of Sarah convincing Lucas to return, of Tom's men tracking them down, of Ethan's final text, "You're dead to us." When Lucas returned an hour later, his face was drawn. She's not okay, he said, sitting heavily on the couch. She's angry, but mostly she's just lost. She didn't know about me, about us. I told her everything. Jamie's throat tightened. And she didn't scream or curse me out, Lucas said. She just cried. Said she wished I'd told her sooner. She's not going to forgive me. But she doesn't hate you, Jamie. She knows this isn't your fault. Relief washed over Jamie, but it was fleeting. What about her dad? Tom's not going to stop. Lucas nodded grimly. She said he's furious. He's been calling in favors, trying to find us. He thinks he's protecting her honor or something. Jamie's hands clenched. We can't keep running forever. Lucas, we need a plan. I know, Lucas said. Alex has a friend who can help us get new IDs. Maybe even leave the country. Canada's not far. We could start fresh. The idea was tempting, but it felt like giving up. Jamie had spent his life hiding who he was. He didn't want to start over by hiding again. I don't want to run, he said. I want to fight. For us. For who we are. Lucas's eyes softened, and he pulled Jamie into a hug. Then we fight. But we do it smart. That night, Alex introduced them to his friend, Maria, a lawyer who worked with LGBTQ plus runaways. She was 40, with a no-nonsense demeanor and a warm smile. You've got options, she said, spreading out papers on the kitchen table. You can file restraining orders against Tom and anyone else who threatens you. You can go public. Tell your story. Take away their power to shame you. Or you can disappear. It's your choice. Jamie looked at Lucas, their hands entwined under the table. What do you think? He asked. Lucas squeezed his hand. I think we tell the truth. No more hiding. Maria nodded. It won't be easy. Willow Creek's a small town, and people like Tom thrive on control. But you've got allies. You've got me, Alex, and a whole community here in Seattle. For the first time, Jamie felt like they weren't alone. The idea of going public terrified him, exposing their love to a world that might hate them, but it also felt right. He'd spent too long in the shadows. The next morning, they started planning. Maria helped them draft a statement. A raw, honest account of their love and the hatred they'd faced. Alex connected them with a local journalist, Emma, who was eager to share their story. But as they worked, Jamie's phone buzzed with a new message from an unknown number. You can't hide forever. We're coming for you. His blood ran cold. He He showed the message to Lucas, whose face hardened. "Tom," he said, "we need to move faster." Jamie said, "If he's tracking us, we don't have much time." Lucas nodded, his eyes fierce. "Then we fight now. We tell the world before he can silence us." As they prepared to go public, Jamie felt a spark of defiance ignite within him. Willow Creek had tried to break him, but he was done breaking. With Lucas by his side, he was ready to face whatever came next. The Seattle newsroom was a flurry of activity, but Emma's small office felt like a fortress. She was 32, with sharp eyes and a quiet intensity, her desk cluttered with notebooks and coffee cups. Jamie and Lucas sat across from her, their story laid bare in a draft article on her laptop. The headline read, "Love over hate. Two men defy a town's rejection." "This is powerful," Emma said, leaning back in her chair. "But it's going to stir things up. Are you ready for that?" Jamie glanced at Lucas, whose hand rested on his knee under the table. "We're ready," Lucas said. "We're done hiding." Emma nodded. "I'll publish it tomorrow morning. It'll go out online and in print. You'll have people on your side, but you'll also have enemies. Willow Creek isn't going to take this lightly." Jamie's stomach twisted, but he nodded. "We know, but we can't let them win." That night, back at Alex's apartment, Jamie couldn't sleep. The anonymous threat, "We're coming for you," played on a loop in his mind. He slipped out of bed, careful not to wake Lucas, and stood by the window, watching the city lights. Seattle was a world away from Willow Creek, but the fear followed him. He wondered if his paintings were still in his apartment, or if his family had destroyed them. He wondered if Ethan would ever speak to him again. Lucas stirred, his voice soft in the dark. "Jamie, you okay?" Jamie turned, his heart aching at the sight of Lucas, sleep rumpled and concerned. "Just scared," he admitted. "What if this doesn't work? What if they come for us?" Lucas crossed the room, pulling Jamie into his arms. "They can try, but we're stronger than they are. Together." The next morning, the article went live. By noon, it was trending online, shared by thousands across the country. Messages of support flooded in, strangers calling them brave, offering help, sharing their own stories of rejection and resilience. But the hate came too. Vicious comments from Willow Creek residents, accusing Jamie of corrupting Lucas, calling them both abominations. Lucas's phone buzzed with a call from his mother. He put it on speaker, his face tense. "Lucas." Linda's voice was shaky. "Why are you doing this? You're tearing our family apart." "I'm not," Lucas said, his voice firm. "I'm trying to live my truth. I wish you could see that." There was a long pause, then a sob. "Your father's out of the hospital, but he's furious. He says you're no son of his." Lucas's face crumpled, but he held steady. "I'm sorry he feels that way, but I love Jamie, and I'm not changing who I am." Linda hung up without another word. Jamie reached for Lucas, pulling him close. "You didn't have to do that," he said. "Not for me. It's for both of us," Lucas said, his voice raw. "I need to be free." By evening, the story had reached Willow Creek. Alex showed them posts on social media, some locals defending them, others calling for their heads. Then a new message arrived on Jamie's phone. "You think a news article will save you? You're wrong." Lucas's face darkened. "Tom's not going to stop." Maria, who joined them for dinner, looked grim. "We need to be proactive. I filed for a restraining order against Tom, but it'll take time. In the meantime, you need to stay vigilant." That night, Alex suggested they attend a local LGBTQ+ support group meeting. "It'll help," he said. You'll see you're not alone. The meeting was held in a community center, filled with people of all ages and backgrounds. Jamie and Lucas sat in the back, listening as others shared their stories, some of triumph, others of pain. A young woman, Mia, approached them afterward. I read your story, she said. You're giving people hope, including me. Her words stayed with Jamie as they returned to Alex's apartment. For the first time, he felt like their fight was bigger than themselves. But the fear lingered. As they climbed the stairs, a figure stepped out of the shadows. Ethan. Jamie froze, his heart pounding. Ethan's face was unreadable, his hands shoved in his pockets. We need to talk, he said, his voice low. Lucas stepped forward, protective. What do you want? Ethan. I want to understand, Ethan said, his eyes on Jamie. Why you did this? Why you're tearing our family apart? Jamie's throat tightened. I'm not tearing anything apart. I just want to live. Ethan. To love who I love. Ethan's jaw clenched, but he didn't look away. I didn't want to ban you from the wedding, he said. Mom and Dad, they insisted. I didn't know how to fight them. The admission hit Jamie like a punch. You could have tried, he said, his voice breaking. Ethan nodded, his eyes glistening. I know. I'm sorry. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Lucas took Jamie's hand. We're not going back, he said. But if you want to be part of our lives, you need to accept us. Ethan didn't respond, but he didn't leave either. As they stood in the dim stairwell, Jamie felt a flicker of hope. Maybe, just maybe, they could rebuild something with Ethan. But Tom's threat loomed, and the fight was far from over. The stairwell was silent, save for the hum of the city outside. Ethan's apology hung between them, fragile and uncertain. Jamie wanted to believe his brother, but years of betrayal made trust a steep climb. Lucas squeezed Jamie's hand, grounding him, as Ethan shifted uncomfortably. I don't expect you to forgive me, Ethan said, his voice low. But I'm here because I don't want to lose you. Jamie. Not completely. Jamie's chest ached. He'd spent years dreaming of this moment, his brother reaching out, seeing him for who he was. But the pain of being banned from the wedding, of being called an embarrassment, was still raw. Why now? Jamie asked. After everything, why show up now? Ethan looked down, his hands clenching. The article. I read it. And I saw how much you've been through. I didn't realize how bad it was for you. Mom and Dad, they made it seem like you were choosing to be difficult. But you're just you. Lucas's grip tightened, a silent reminder of their strength. What do you want, Ethan? He asked. Because we're not going back to Willow Creek. Not like this. I don't want you to, Ethan said, surprising them. I just want to make things right. Or at least try. Before Jamie could respond, Alex appeared at the top of the stairs, his face tense. Guys, we've got a problem. There's a car outside, been parked there for an hour. Tinted windows. Looks like trouble. Jamie's heart sank. Tom. It had to be. What do we do? He asked, his voice steady despite the fear. Maria, who'd been listening from the apartment door, stepped forward. We call the police. The restraining order's not in place yet, but we can report suspicious activity. Stay inside for now. Lucas nodded, but his eyes were on Ethan. You with us? He asked. Ethan hesitated, then nodded. Yeah, I'm with you. They retreated to the apartment, locking the door behind them. Maria made the call, her voice calm but firm. As they waited, Jamie's mind raced. Ethan's presence was a lifeline, But Tom's threat was a noose. He glanced at Lucas, who was pacing, his phone buzzing with notifications from the article's fallout. "We're trending again," Lucas said, showing Jamie the screen. The article had sparked a movement. Hashtags like Love Over Hate and Willow Creek Truth were spreading, with allies across the country rallying behind them. But the hate was growing too, with locals organizing a protest in Willow Creek, calling for their exile. "They're scared," Alex said, reading over Lucas's shoulder. "Your story's exposing their bigotry. They're lashing out because they're losing control." Jamie nodded, but the weight of it was crushing. He'd never wanted to be a symbol, just a man in love. He turned to Ethan. "What's it like back home? Are they really this angry?" Ethan sighed, running a hand through his hair. "It's a mess. Mom and Dad are humiliated. Sarah's family is out for blood. But there are people on your side, Jamie. People who never spoke up before. Your art, it's being shared online. People are calling it powerful." Jamie's breath caught. His paintings, the ones he'd thought were lost, were out there. "How?" he asked. "Some friends from high school," Ethan said. "They broke into your apartment not to steal, to save your work. They've been posting it, saying it's proof you're more than what the town says." Tears pricked Jamie's eyes. His art had always been his voice, his way of screaming when no one would listen. Now, it was speaking for him. "Thank you," he said to Ethan, his voice thick. Ethan nodded, a faint smile breaking through. "I should have done more. Sooner." The police arrived, reporting that the car had left, but they'd patrol the area. Maria urged them to stay cautious, and Ethan offered to stay the night. "I don't want you facing this alone," he said. As they settled in, Jamie felt a shift. Ethan's presence wasn't forgiveness. Not yet, but it was a start. He and Lucas sat up late, planning their next move. Maria suggested a public event, a rally in Seattle, to share their story in person, to show the world they weren't afraid. Lucas was all in, but Jamie hesitated. "What if Tom shows up?" he asked. "Then we face him," Lucas said. "Together." The rally was set for the next weekend, and preparations consumed them. Jamie started painting again, borrowing supplies from Alex. Each stroke felt like defiance, a reclaiming of his voice. Lucas watched him work, his eyes filled with pride. "You're incredible," he said, kissing Jamie's forehead. But the threats didn't stop. Another message arrived, this time with a photo of Jamie's apartment. "Trashed. You can't run forever." Lucas's face hardened, but Jamie felt something else, anger. He was done being a victim. The night before the rally, Ethan pulled Jamie aside. "I'm proud of you," he said. "I don't know if I can fix what I broke, but I'm here now." Jamie nodded, tears in his eyes. "That's enough for now." As they prepared for the rally, Jamie felt a fire growing inside him. Willow Creek had tried to silence him, but he was ready to roar. The rally was held in a Seattle park, under a sky bruised with clouds but bright with hope. Hundreds gathered, LGBTQ+ activists, allies, strangers moved by Jamie and Lucas's story. Jamie stood on the makeshift stage, his hands trembling as he gripped the microphone. Lucas was beside him, their shoulders touching, a silent promise of strength. Ethan stood in the crowd, his presence a quiet amends. "My name is Jamie Carter," he began, his voice steady despite the nerves. "I grew up in Willow Creek, Oregon, where I was told my love was wrong. My family banned me from my brother's wedding because I'm gay. But today, I'm here to say I'm not ashamed." The crowd cheered, their energy a lifeline. Jamie glanced at Lucas, who nodded, his eyes shining. "This is Lucas Hayes, Jamie continued. He was supposed to marry a woman he didn't love, to live a life that wasn't his. But he chose truth. He chose me. Lucas took the microphone, his voice strong. We're not here to hurt anyone. We're here to live, to love. And no one, not our families, not a town, not a single threat can take that from us. The crowd roared. But Jamie's eyes caught a figure at the edge of the park, Tom Bradley, flanked by two men. His heart raced, but he refused to look away. Maria, standing nearby, signaled to security, who moved toward Tom. The crowd's energy drowned out the threat, and for the first time, Jamie felt untouchable. After the rally, Emma approached, her camera in hand. You two are changing things, she said. Your story's gone national. Willow Creek's being forced to face itself. But the victory was bittersweet. Back at Alex's apartment, Jamie and Lucas learned that Tom had been detained for violating the restraining order. But he wasn't alone. A group of Willow Creek locals had started a campaign to reclaim their town, targeting Jamie's supporters. Ethan, who'd stayed for the rally, looked grim. I'm going back, he said. I need to talk to Mom and Dad. Make them see what they're doing. Jamie's heart ached. Be careful, he said. They won't listen easily. I know, Ethan said. But I owe you this. Weeks passed, and the storm began to settle. Tom's threats stopped after his arrest, and Sarah reached out, offering a tentative olive branch. I don't understand everything, she wrote, but I want you to be happy. Jamie's paintings, now displayed in a Seattle gallery, sold faster than he'd ever imagined, each one a testament to his resilience. One evening, as they walked along Puget Sound, Lucas stopped, pulling Jamie close. I never thought I'd have this, he said, his voice thick with emotion. A life where I'm not hiding. With you. Jamie smiled, tears in his eyes. We're not just surviving anymore, are we? No, Lucas said, kissing him softly. We're living. Months later, a letter arrived from Ethan. He'd moved out of Willow Creek, started therapy, and was working to rebuild their relationship. Mom and Dad are stubborn, he wrote, but they're starting to listen. I'm proud of you, Jamie, and I'm sorry it took me so long. Jamie read the letter aloud to Lucas, their hands entwined. The pain of Willow Creek would never fully fade, but it no longer defined them. They'd built something new, a life of love, art, and truth. And as the sun set over the water, Jamie knew they'd won, not just against the town, but for themselves.